Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Eventual Knits podcast. My name is Leah. You can find me on Instagram as miss_LJV and Eventual on Ravelry. I use she, her pronouns. And today is December 7th, 2023. If you've been following along with Vlogmas, it's been hodgepodge and just really day in the life. Very, very indicative of how my life really goes. But if Vlogmas isn't interesting to you, no worries. I've been combining days because one, I just don't tend to have enough footage for one single day. Because it's a lot of having a baby. But I think it's been pretty good so far. I'm very happy with the things I've been able to do this month so far, and I'm happy to be back recording a podcast. So if you are new, welcome, happy to have you, and if you are returning, it's good to see you again. I have brought one finished object. I am wearing the Mousseau sweater by Espace Tricot, and it is a technically supposed to be worsted weight sweater by holding, I think, a DK and a lace, or maybe multiple lace, but I knit mine in Lion Brand FOMO, which is, of course, a faux mohair, but it is a category 4 weight, so I just knit it like that. It is a basically just stockinette top-down sweater that has I-cord edging on the neck, the wrists, and on the bottom. It is partially cropped, and I normally would make them longer, but I was just curious what it would look like, and I think it turned out really well. It's so comfortable, very light and airy, which is perfect for my current lifestyle. I tend to get pretty sweaty because I'm often carrying, an 18-pound infant, and moving around a lot and whatnot, but let's see if I can show it a little bit. So I'm not wearing anything underneath it other than like a sports bra kind of, but it's decent length. You don't have to wear anything underneath it. I really don't think you have to. It has balloon sleeves, although the wrists are really big for my wrists, but it's like good length. I probably knit my sleeves longer than it called for because I always like longer sleeves. But I have worn it a ton, so it's already a little bit kind of stretched a little bit. The neck in particular, I feel like, is a little bigger than I remember it from a few days ago or like a week ago. But otherwise, the yarn is super soft. I want to say I used like 3.5 skeins maybe. I probably knit the size large, probably. Sometimes with these oversized ones I knit a size medium, but regardless, my information is all on my Ravelry page. So I was very happy to have finished this because I can wear it and it's comfy, and I have such an urge to be making new sweaters right now. So that is basically it for everything that I have finished. I did finish another row on the Afghan that I'm knitting for my son for his birth year. Okay. As always, I tend to I'm really lackadaisical with this, and I end up letting it sort of unravel a little bit occasionally here. Where is the... Okay, so it's upside down in a way. So this is October, this is November. So I've knit through November 1, 2, 3, right. So I'm about a month behind. Each row is, I think it's is it 17 or 18? 18 across. So 18 across, and currently it is 18 wide as well. So theoretically it should be a square. Let's see if my gauge is, yeah, okay. Yeah, it's looking pretty squarish. Maybe a little longer in one direction than the other. Anyway, I'm loving it. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'll have to include footage of me panning over how it looks so far. I'm really excited, especially because we live in such a cold climate, and if you start on January 1st, it's sort of like you make a full circle. So you start with like the colder temperatures, and then it gets warmer, and then it gets colder again. I really like the way that looks. So you can see we're starting to get into the colder temperatures. These are like averages in the 30s, averages in the 40s, I think. This is all knit in Brioche vintage. And yeah, so I'm almost done. I've almost completed a full blanket, my first like full blanket of like an appropriate length and size, and hopefully, you know, Quinn will keep it as a nice little heirloom for his whole life. He's actually got a ton of blankets already from family members and friends of the family and whatnot, so he's gonna have a lot to pick from as he grows up, but that's what happens when you're loved. There's no official pattern for this. I just am knitting, or I'm crocheting just double crochet circles and then doing one additional row and then connecting them. So I highly encourage that in terms of a feasible, doable temperature blanket. I'm taking the averages. I know a lot of people make theirs super colorful with like, you know, I already have a bunch of colors, but even more colors to do like the highs and lows and whatnot. But in order to keep this a basically continuous blanket, so I can just keep attaching without having billions and billions and billions of ends already, more than I have of the individual daily colors, I needed to do it like this. and I'm really liking how it's turning out. So even though our temperatures during the day can range so much, it's so interesting, and I get very like particular about wanting it to be like as accurate as possible. So sometimes with the averages, it's like, okay, it averaged up to 40, but it was, you know, really cold this morning, or it got really hot this afternoon, or whatever it is. Like that's hard for me sometimes, but I was like, you have to make concessions if you want to be successful, and I am proud of the progress that I have made. We are almost done. Like in 2 podcast episodes, I'll probably, well, 3, I guess, I'll probably be completely finished with this blanket, and I am so excited. The next thing that I'm working on is I cast on a sweater for Quinn. I already forgot what it's called. Twist sweater, the Twisty sweater or something, by I think Kitty Winks. I'll put the information on the bottom. I got the collar done. And then it immediately starts to be these really cute cables that honestly are not that dissimilar in terms of like how the yoke ends up looking from like sort of an S. What's that pattern by? Is it Wool and Pine? That's with long stitches, but I can't remember what it is. But anyway, it's got nice cables down the yoke, and kid sweaters don't take that long, but I am resistant to the fiddliness of like small circumference, even though I know it's not gonna take that long. But yeah, the second I got done with the collar, I looked at the pattern, and it was like, of course, immediately jumping into the cables. And I've been really into watching Steve play video games, and also we're literally on the very last episode now of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. We watched it up, I don't know, to like season 5 back in the day, and then we stopped watching probably around when George Floyd was murdered.
Find the box and the bucket. Cool. Our country is broken. What?
But we went back to it, and it's such a good show.
Bone!
And so yeah, we're almost done, but those kinds of things that I'm more watching, paying more attention to. So I was like, haha, even though I like cables, it was just like overwhelming at the time. So I've got the collar. This is Haiku Simplicity Spray, and I'm actually really excited about a sweater for him in this. It'll be nice and Christmassy, so I do hope to finish it by Christmas. But that's as far as I got. I am knitting this on my Chow Goose size 4. I'm guessing the cables start on, or that you move up to size 5. But yeah, so that's that sweater that I sort of started for Quinn. The next thing that I am working on is I have made progress on my Doodle infinity cowl or scarf or whatever. I guess I could do it this way. I love it. So what I'm doing is I have 3 colors as the background color, although I kind of cheated, and so I have a gradient of yarn that I won, mini skeins in DK, that I won when I visited, when Tony Lipsy came to Be Woolen in, where's that, Champlin? It's like 35 minutes from where I live, but it's a nice, beautiful gradient. So I picked 3 colors to be the main background colors. So one is this like really soft pink from Canon Hand Dyes. The background here is a sort of like winey maroon, and that's from Be Woolen. That's the Be Woolen line. And then there's this sort of white with speckles from Houghton yarn. So I'm going through all of the colors, but I'm using these 3 as background colors, and it sort of worked out where it's like, you know, medium, dark, light, dark, medium, light. And I'm just sort of going based upon the color of the yarn that I'm working on. So it starts with a purple and then goes to pinks, then reds, then oranges, and then now I'm just starting yellow, and then it goes to greens, then blues as the final colors, I believe. So this one I kind of cheated because I inverted the colors. So the skein is actually in the Canon Hand Dyes, and then the background is in this, the background is in the gradient color. So I was just curious to see how that would look, but now I'm back to just sort of using all the colors. So the motifs that I have picked so far are hats, love it, super love it. A little Argyle hearts, a yarn skein, little flower motif, sort of, just a little design, a snail, which is 2 different colors, so this was knitting with 3 colors. And it's funny because I wasn't really trying that hard to tension it very well, and so it's like kind of poofy a little bit because it's a little tight, but that's okay. So this pink is actually the same as this pink down here, and then the new color was this sort of like rusty color. Then I did a little heart motif. Then the leaf, this leaf is so good. This color is amazing. Little leaf motif. And then this, I know the contrast is really low. It's a butterfly. So my nephew stayed with us for the weekend after Thanksgiving. He's 6, he'll be 7 in March. But anyway, I told him he could pick one, and he picked the butterfly. So I did the butterfly. And then little fishies. I thought that this color looked a lot like goldfish crackers, so I wanted to do a fishy. And then now I've started on a star because this yellow is super, super bright. It's not quite like a neon or like a highlighter, but it's also not like primary yellow either. It's nice and bright. So I'm doing a star motif for that. And then I have this cute little tomato stitch marker. My cousin bought me little veggie stitch markers a few years ago. They're adorable. And then of course I've got some nice little donut stitch stoppers. And then I'm knitting this on, is this a 5? Yes, a 5, 3.75 millimeter, again, Chow And the doodles are by Pacific Knit Co. And I did buy a binder for them. So it's so nice. So when I go through and I'm like, okay, so what motif do I want? I cut the decks up, and so I put like what kind. So this is Rhinebeck. I know that the glare is really bad, but this is the Rhinebeck half deck, and then I put the motifs, and I tried to sort them based upon like kind. So like this is all of the like, it's got like the sheep, and then a pack, or a llama or alpaca, whatever that is. Bunnies, and then the yarns, and then the, you know, winter, fall clothes. And then more fall clothes and 2 different kinds of scarves, and then trees and apples. And then the next one was spring, so it was like spring animals. But then, you know, for example, it's like, oh, okay, there's a bunch of different heart motifs. I want to put them together so I can look at them all at once. Or there's flower motifs. I want to look at the flowers all at once. And actually, there's a lot of them for spring. There's more down here too. And so I tried really hard to sort them, and so then I can just sort of flip to the page. And then, for example, like I bought the fall one last time, and it's like, oh, okay, so 3 different kinds of pumpkins, there's a bunch of different kinds of leaves, and then all of the sort of Halloween-y things. So there's some really, really cute ones for Halloween. And so, yeah, so for each one, I just sort of flip through, and I decide. So, for example, when I wanted to do the goldfish, there are like 5 or so, 5 fish, right? There's this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. So I just looked at which one I wanted, and I picked from there. So I do own now spring, summer, fall, the Arctic Doodle deck, which I think is several of the winter or similar to the winter ones. I'm not really sure, but I own that digitally, and maybe I'll print them out. That's actually something I might do. Maybe buy some cardstock and print them out and put them in here as well. I've decided. I think I'm going to do that. So maybe tomorrow I'll get some cardstock. And then the Rhinebeck half deck. Like, I had to get the Rhinebeck half deck. So it's really cool. I know that there are various knit-alongs that are happening all the time with Pacific Nico stuff. And Be Woolen had a meetup for a few weeks for people working on their doodle cows. So that was really fun to see just the colors that people chose and how they're doing the motifs. Are they sticking to, like, so someone, for example, was knitting only part from the fall deck, and I really like being able to pick from all of them, especially because I have a gradient. And yeah, it'll be really fun. The pattern for a doodle, I think, has 5 repeats, and I knit really loosely, and this is with DK, so when I tried it at first with 5, it was way too many, way too wide to have as like an infinity cowl. So I tore it back, and I tried again with 3, and then 3 was too narrow, and so 4 I think is the perfect amount. Very Goldilocks. But I'm loving it so far. I haven't made any progress this week because I have been working on what I'm about to show you. I haven't had actually as much time to be knitting because I've been doing a lot of tidying, which if you watch my vlogmases, you'll see a lot of that, which I feel like is pretty satisfying to see someone else do. But I haven't had as much knitting because of those kinds of things, and because I've been really interested in watching Alan Wake, and then I start to get, I'm just like watching it. It's so good. It's so good. Okay, so that, again, I just picked a random pattern, a random doodle from Pacific Knit Co. on Ravelry for the project, but I'm not actually following any sort of project thing category. I think I picked Arctic, but and lastly, what I am working on that I'm so excited, I just started it a few days ago, but it is so addictive, is the September sweater by Petite Knit. So it is a full brioche sweater. So cozy. Brioche is, I love brioche so much. So much. But I have 5 skeins of this Line Brand Provincial Tweed. Like, it's more red. I feel like it's coming in brown, more brown than it is. It is more brick color, but it's not like straight brown. It is Provincial Tweed from Knit Picks, and I've had these skeins for a long time, and so I thought, what better way to use these skeins than in just like a nice, like lightly textured, squishy sweater. It is a I'm gonna grab one. They're right behind me. Is this worsted? Yes. And this is called Candy Apple. It is worsted weight. I'm actually knitting the medium because it's supposed to be decently oversized, but again, so like my bust is like 39 inches or something like that. They want it to be like 6 inches of positive ease. Okay, here's the thing. So I knit really loosely, so I'm always going to end up with a garment that's a couple inches bigger typically than it says. And so, for example, if I knit the large, it says that the final garment will be 44.5 inches. So you'd say, oh, you should knit the large because that's like 5 to 6 inches bigger than your bust. However, I'm actually going to be knitting a garment that is more like 46 inches, which 2 inches is a lot. And because my bust, like my body isn't the size of my bust all the way around, right? So it'd be 6 inches here, but then like 8 or 10 inches here. So it gets really, it very quickly becomes like wearing an oversized bag, you know, it becomes too much material, too much fabric. So I sized down. I'm knitting the medium, which I think it's supposed to be like 39 or 40 inches, but again, it's going to be a couple inches bigger because I knit so loosely. And brioche stretches widthwise, just because of the nature of the stitch. So I don't want it to be like this gigantic, you know, shapeless muumuu because it looks so cute and cozy online. So it is knit on size 8. Oop. Don't want to drop the brioche. Size 8. So you cast on for the back. You do this really lovely shaping for some shoulders, and then you cast on for the back, you knit the back with some shaping, and then you pick up stitches for the shoulders, and then you knit the front yoke. Yes, this is the yoke, the front yoke, and then you end up joining them in a little bit. And then later you will pick up for the neckline. So currently it has been being knit flat, but it is just brioche knit back and forth. So there's no brioche purling, at least not yet. I don't know if there is any in the pattern, but right now it's just brioche knit. So easy. If you are intimidated by brioche, honestly, this is a really good starter pattern. Brioche seems so much more confusing than it is. It's really, really, really easy. It's just creating like a yarn over, like it's like knit, yarn over, you yarn over and then slip the stitch, then knit, yarn over, knit, slip the stitch. And I just feel like people are so intimidated by it, but especially single color brioche is not that difficult. And then once you get the hang of one color brioche, 2 color brioche is also not that different because it's a lot of slipping stitches. But it's so cozy and so squishy. I love it. So I've been very, very into knitting this sweater, and I hope to finish it as soon as I can. And then I should get back to other things because I said that I was going to finish socks for me and Stephen Quinn for Christmas. I mean, I still have like 20 days, and but it's so hard to motivate when I want to be knitting sweaters. I do have that, like, I want to cast on so many things right now, and I think it's because I went through all of my yarn and I'm getting rid of so much, and I have so much that I really like that I'm like, oh my god, I want to use it. I want to use my yarn so badly. And so I actually am. I mean, I'm putting my money where my mouth is. Using the yarn. I don't know how long. Actually, I wonder if it says what year this was dyed. Because it's Knit Picks. It doesn't. But anyway. So that's all that I have been actively working on. I do need to finish those the ice gingerbread socks. I have finished the cuff for my second sock for me. Again, Quinn's would go pretty fast, Steve's would take longer. But honestly, like if I just focus and just focus, I can get them done pretty quickly. I just haven't been. I do have one acquisition that I want to show you. My birthday was in November. I turned 36, and one of the things Steve got me was a fade from Moonglow. Ignore the crinkles. It's a beautiful, beautiful fade with like these really soft, beautiful, rich pinks and purples and grays and blackish. So it is fingering weight. 463 yards, so a little bit of a lighter fingering. It's really, really, really pretty. It's such a pretty fade. I don't know if there was something in particular that yarn was supposed to be used for as a fade. I'm not sure if I will make something faded with it or if I'll split the yarn. I don't know yet, but I really love those colors. They're so beautiful. So that was really nice, and I was really happy about that for my birthday. For December, I have 2 advents. One of them is a tea advent, and that's been fun. I've only actually drank one of the teas because most of them have been caffeinated, and so I had just forget to make a tea during the day. And the other one is like the last one's like a detox. And it said great for the morning, so again, I just had to remember to drink it in the morning. And then I also have a stitch marker advent from Firefly Notes. I've never heard of them before, but I saw on someone's story, or someone was saying that they were buying it last month, and they still had advents in their shop, so I bought them. And it's been really fun so far. The style of stitch marker is not one that I have had ever, but I am pretty picky. I shouldn't say picky, but I do have preferences for what kind of stitch markers I like. I typically prefer the polymer clay stitch markers, and I prefer them in a complete, like a circle ring or a leverback clasp, leverback clasp. The stitch marker that I have, so for example, stitch marker that I have on my sweater is, this is, I'm sure, from Simply Serving. Little Christmas tree cookie with a leverback clasp. But I also don't like wooden stitch markers. I don't know if it's because they're too light. There's something, it's like they feel empty. I don't know. I like the weight of the polymer clay stitch markers. Or maybe it's that I really like color and not like the laser cut. So I don't tend to go for those. But yeah, these ones are metal, and they are fairy, woodland, magical, whatever themed. So I've gotten like a star, and I've gotten a firefly, and I've gotten a bluebell, and a couple other things. They're in my Vlogmases. And that's been really fun. It's been really nice. So like Nitty Natty, for example, she bought like 6 advents or something, maybe even more, for herself for yarn. And like just that in itself just gives me so much anxiety. Like that's so many mini skeins. I didn't order any yarn advents this year. If you've seen my previous Vlogmases, I did always do a yarn advent. This year I purchased a collab between Cat Sandwich Fibers and Black Pearl Magic, and I don't know exactly, like they didn't say exactly what comes in it. I think there's a full skein of yarn, probably a bag, and then some other, like they said, like other goodies. But I think they are starting to ship today at the earliest, so they'll be here towards the end of the month. And they specifically said these are not advents, they are designed to be enjoyed all at once. Open it and enjoy it. So whenever that comes, I'll of course open it. But I'm such in a, like, I want to get skeins out. I have already too many minis to begin with. I don't actually have all that many. I've only done those 3 years of advents, but it's still, and several of my advents, like I used, was it High Fiber Arts? I used one Advent in a sweater the year that when I opened it, I would work on my sweater. Like each one I opened, I would work on a sweater immediately. And I don't have that sweater anymore, actually. I think I gave it away. And then right before I gave birth, I was using up my Advent from 2022, which was, I can picture, Artemis Yarns Advent. I was working those up into a shawl, and I still have that project over there. I just haven't worked on it in quite a while. And that's been fun, but it doesn't use all that. It doesn't use a ton of the yarn. So what I would like to do with a lot of my remaining minis, or if I do an Advent in the future, I would like to, whatever I open, I want to use right away. So whether that's like using it all to crochet a granny square, or if I'm making a garment or making a shawl, I want to use it right away, because mini skeins just give me anxiety because I just don't use them. Leftover yarn gives me anxiety too, because I never know what to do with it. I don't like to just sit there, whatever. But speaking of yarn, I have 4 grocery bags full of very good yarn that I need to get rid of. So I'm thinking that I am going to add them to my D-stash on Ravelry. I guess I'll put them cheaper, but I want the buyer to pay shipping, because I just don't know, like, who knows. And shipping is weird nowadays. And then I'll probably put them in a highlight on my Instagram so that people can access it, but that then requires I add them to my story, so I'll be like bombarding people with all of the yarns on my story. I guess I'll say, I check all of my yarn that I'm getting rid of as much as I can to for damage. Like, again, the damage that they could possibly have is moth damage, but I feel like that's actually really truly rare in most of my skeins. Again, I recently went through all of my yarn in like April and like assessed them for damage and whatnot. So and then of course I just touched every single skein in my every single skein video, and so they shouldn't be damaged, but it is kind of like I'm not opening each skein to see all the inside. I've in all of the skeins of yarn, what was it like from my this is spoilers for my video, but from my touching every skein video, I think I had over 700 skeins of yarn. Out of 700 skeins of yarn, the amount of yarn that I've had to ever throw away, minus the like basically roving that I had to get rid of, which was not in the same area as all this yarn, was like 5 skeins total out of over 700 skeins in like April. So I'm just saying, like, it's not likely, but it is a possibility, which is also another reason why I want to sell it for a little bit cheaper. But yeah, it's, no smoking household. My cats don't get into my yarn, that kind of stuff. But yeah, if you're interested, please go to my Ravelry, or eventually when I get around to Instagram, do that. So I wanted to go to Good Homes, and yeah, so that's that. Life stuff. Like I said, we had Thanksgiving at my mom's. We went in the afternoon after Quinn's first nap, and then because of his nap, we actually like missed dinner, and so we just ate by ourselves, or not dinner, but whatever, lunch, Thanksgiving, whatever, which was fine. But it was Quinn's nap, so we were working around him, and then it was nice to just hang out for a little while, and Quinn get to see his family. And then we went from there and drove to one of my brother's house, because they were also doing a Thanksgiving, and it was great because it was the perfect length of a drive for Quinn to take a nap in the car. So it was perfect. And he had the time of his life with his cousin. So one of his cousins is in kindergarten, and she was bringing him like stuffed animals of hers and showing him toys, and he loves other kids. Like, he is so obsessed. I think he would have made a great little brother. Sorry for him. But yeah, he was just enamored with his cousin, and he had a great time there because I mean, she's the youngest at 5 at that house. His other cousins are like 15 and maybe 12 or 11, and then 22, I think. At that house. But yeah, it's always like warm and cozy. And that was another thing. Which house was that at? There was one of the houses my mom's or my brother's. One of the houses my mom's or my brother's was like too hot for him, so he started like freaking. He started like panicking, so he had to take off his sweater. I can't remember which house that was. One of the two, but yeah, it was great. And then my brother always gets his whole family involved for making things for Thanksgiving, and so like 2 of his children like make the desserts, and you know, like one of his children makes one of the sides, and then, you know, his wife makes like, well, I mean, they you know, the 2 of them contribute to all like the big things and whatnot. But so it's always fun because like we'll be eating and it'll be like, oh, you know, like my nephew's like, I invented this dessert, and he's like, I made a cookie pie, and so I took cookie dough as a base, and then I took this other cookie dough as the inside, and what do you think? And taking like the legitimate feedback, which the feedback for his cookie pie was good, so rich. I could eat like 3 bites and I was going to die from how much chocolate and sugar and stuff, but it was really good. And then my niece always makes one of the other desserts, and she makes more like pie stuff, and it's always so yummy. It's always fun to go over to my brother's, and you never know what they're gonna make, and it's always so good. He makes the juiciest turkey, or he and his wife make the juiciest turkey. So good. I don't know how they do it. And then, so it was Thursday, and then on Friday, Steve and I just had time to kill before my nephew came over, and so we went to Mall of America, and we didn't even think about it being Black Friday, and it was chaos. I mean, like, it wasn't like chaos like at, you know, 2009 Walmart, but it was just packed. It was just lines and lines of people, and I was thinking, like, there are not very many like deals anymore since every store starts doing Black Friday week. And it's funny because, Steve, we go to the mall almost every single day, so we see what the deals are. We don't usually shop, we just usually walk around, but, you know, window shopping, and you see the deals and whatnot. So it was interesting to see how many people clearly don't go to the mall very often. Like, this is their yearly trip to the mall. They're going there for Black Friday, they're buying their Christmas gifts or whatever, and the deals are not deals. Buy one, get one 50% off? What? That is not a deal. That's never been a deal. It's not a deal. Or like the certain, I don't know, where they're, whatever the prices were, I would see these lines, like let's say for North Face or something, and it's like the line is freaking out the door, and you can't even see what is worth buying in there. I don't know. It just seemed like a nightmare to me. I can't imagine shopping there on Black Friday. And same thing, it was like trying to wait in line for food was also a disaster. People were sitting on the floor because there were no spots to sit in the gigantic food courts. I mean, it was completely insane. I have not seen the mall like that in so long. And it was funny because we actually found a parking spot really fast. Like, we just got really lucky. It was packed. But I would recommend not shopping at the mall on Black Friday. I'm pretty sure their best deals are like on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, which they do have decent deals at the mall. Food is overpriced. Like, you know, if you go to Chipotle at the mall, it's going to be more expensive than going to Chipotle, you know, a different place in Bloomington. But I would say that the prices for items there are decent, generally speaking. Probably not Black Friday, though. I feel like Black Friday was a ripoff. But it is cool. Also, it's just funny to see, you know, people like taking like pictures. They're so excited to be there with their family. This is their yearly trip. They're gonna go to Nickelodeon Universe, so they're gonna go to the Crayola experience, you know, do the mini golf, or, you know, some of the other things that they have there, and do their shopping. It's just fun. It was a good energy, but also like stressful. It's just chaos. But anyway, yeah. So then in the afternoon, my nephew came over and he stayed the weekend. I taught him how to knit. We went and got him his own sets of needles. I bought him, not Chow Goose. I bought him, I always want to say Knit Picks. That's not the brand. Knitter's Pride. And I bought him a 7 and an 8, I think. I wanted to get him an 8 and a 9, or maybe 2 8s, but they didn't have them in the right length. So I think I just got him a 7 and an 8, and bought him his own cotton yarn, and I gave him the same brand of cotton yarn for his first project. And so he's been working on a washcloth. He got it. He definitely, like, I saw him this last weekend, and he does remember how to do it. He didn't forget, even though he hadn't really worked on it. I know lots of kids, or kids in general, are often, you know, they want that sort of immediate project completion reward. But washcloth is good, and he started a second project in a soft, like a baby yarn, basically. I think it's acrylic and bamboo, so it's very soft, but it's just very splitty. But that was the color he wanted, and that was the yarn he wanted, so I was going to let him have it for a coaster. So it's less stitches, it's going to be smaller. But I know he hasn't been working on them so much. But hopefully he, you know, just decides to pick them up every so often and make a few stitches, and eventually it'll be really cool, because then he'll, like, a washcloth is usable, a coaster is usable, and that's kind of fun. So that was good. We did that. We also went to Sustainable Safari in Maplewood Mall, and that was super cool. It was way cooler than I thought it was going to be. They have so many fun animals there, and you can pay extra for like an encounter with an animal. And so my nephew picked a kangaroo, so we got to hold and pet a kangaroo, and we got to see the I thought the parakeet experience was more money, but maybe because they were slow, they were just letting people in. And I know parakeets are pets. Like, my best friend growing up always had parakeets, but it was still really cool to be with so many, and they were like hanging around, and like they were trying to like pick apart the fibers from another person, and there was wearing like Ugg boots and like grooming Steve's hair. And he just really like you. Whoa. Whoa.
Why do you like you?
What do you think?
I guess they like our heads
He's
more.
tickling my leg. With his little talons. Oh, got one on my head.
Oh, you will. Do that one.
Yeah, it was super fun. There were a lot of really cool animals there. My nephew's favorite was the fennec fox, and I totally get that. But yeah, that was really fun. Quinn really liked it too. He, you know, he's 7.5. He was 7.5 months old at the time, and it's like he really enjoyed just looking at all of the animals and all of the seeing what they're doing and watching people feed them, and honestly looking at the people too. He really likes other people. I also took my nephew to, it's called like Lookout Ridge or something, and it's in the same building as a local library, and I'd never been there before, and it was straight chaos, like absolute chaos. Like so many kids just screaming. It had a lot of vertical climbing, and it had several slides, of course, and it is definitely not designed for adults, but the signs also say like to not leave kids unsupervised. It was amazing how many adults were just sitting at these tables nearby and not like, it's fine. Like, I don't think that adults need to always be playing with kids. I really do think kids should play with each other, and I think that's a good experience, but my nephew is not one of those kids. He only wants to play with the adults. the like climbing things are like not designed for adults, like the little like platforms that you can climb up, like literally some of them, like even I had to like shimmy on my stomach like to get in and around, you know, like if you're claustrophobic it would be a nightmare for you. And one of the slides was a twisty slide, and it had so many twists that I got dizzy. Like I remember being a kid and being like not judgmental, but being like adults, when adults would say that, you know, like the tilt-a-whirl, for example, like things that should make you dizzy would make them dizzy. Or, you know, if they're like trying to stand up and they're like, my joints are cracking, or trying to run and being like, oh my god, I'm so tired, you know, and me being kind of like judgy or being like adults. And now I'm an adult and I know what it's like, you know, you're this like sense of reality, I don't know, your balance changes. I remember a few years ago, I rolled down a hill, and it was a pretty big hill, and it was so fun to do, and then I got to the bottom and I was like gonna throw up. Like, I used to just roll down the hills all the time. I'd never get sick. Kids just spin in circles, you know, and it is wild how your body changes as you get older. Like, I think I say this, I don't know if I said this on the podcast before, but when I learned that I couldn't do monkey bars anymore, just a thing that I'd been doing my whole life that I took for granted when I became an adult, and I obviously stopped playing on playgrounds, when I discovered I couldn't do monkey bars anymore, I was like devastated. That's a long-term goal that I have, is like I want to get back to being strong enough to do monkey bars, because I want to do that stuff with my kid, you know? And I mean, like at my nephew's birthday party last year, was I pregnant? I couldn't have been pregnant at the time. So it might have been the previous year, not this year, but the previous year. I couldn't jump up on something. It was at a trampoline park, and there's like these ledges to jump out, and I could not push off hard enough, and my arms were not strong enough to lift me the rest of the way to jump up on this little platform thing. And this little boy, like he was like, it's like this, and of course he's a little kid, so like boing, and he flings up, and I was like, I know, I'm trying so hard. And then he left, and he came back a while later, and he was like so concerned for me, and was like, you still haven't gotten up? And it's like, I can't. I'm short, and I'm like, it's like my height and my weight and then my strength are just all off, and it's just devastating to not be able to do the same things you used to do, and also be too scared to, right? Like doing flips is really scary now, and I used to do them all the time as a kid on trampolines and whatnot. But I'm rambling. Anyway, tell me about your experience with things that you used to do as a kid. I think that's about everything. Still going to continue to do Vlogmas, posting up this as normal. And yeah, I'll keep including footage. We are decorated for the holidays, which is really nice. This is our favorite time of year, just because me and Steve love lights and just being festive in general. Yeah, it'll be a good time. So thanks again for hanging out with me. I look forward to the next time I see you, and have a good week. Bye.